In this video, we're going to work a couple of questions related to standard deviations, one similar to what you may see on the ACT. The first question says, which of the following data sets has the smallest standard deviation? And let's remind ourselves of standard deviation. In general, what we're looking for with standard deviation is a spread or a distance away from the mean. And there is a calculation to do that. You can also, most of your calculators have functions that you can use when you enter a data set. You can calculate the standard deviation, but a lot of times with these questions on the ACT, we can look at the data set and do a visual inspection and sometimes come up with the answer without actually having to calculate. So let's look at these answer choices. We're looking again for the smallest standard deviation. So when we're glancing at the answer choices, one thing that should really get our attention is answer choice D. When each one of the data values is the same, that's going to give us a mean of 5 in this case, and the distance away from that mean is 0 for each one of these points. It's the same. So that's going to result in the smallest standard deviation. That's answer choice D. We didn't have to do any calculation. We were just able to look at the values. Question 2 says sets A and B each consist of 5 distinct numbers. The two sets contain identical numbers with the exception of the number with the least value in each set. The number with the least value in set B is greater than the number with the least value in set A. Which set has a larger standard deviation? So larger, the greatest distance from the mean, what we're basically looking at. So each of our sets, A and B, has 5 values in the data set. And we'll just use this to indicate our 5 values. And it says each one is identical except for the least. So all these are the same, so they almost cancel each other out. But what's our distinguishing factor in this least one? It says the number with the least set in set B, so we're talking about this one, is greater than the value here in set A. So we have a larger value. You could almost think of, let's say if all of our values run something, and let's say if set B has a value of 10, value A may have a value of 5. And these are ordered from least to greatest. So what's going to happen? The 5 is going to result in a larger distance from the mean than the 10 would. So set A is going to result in a larger standard deviation in general. So that is answer choice F. Question 3 says, given the set 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, x, which of the following values of x will most increase the standard deviation? So we're looking for the value of x that's going to increase standard deviation the most. One thing that when we look at the values that were given, 3, 3, 4, 5, and 5, we want to see what value would most increase that standard deviation, and it's going to be the value that is the most different from the ones that were given. We're not told necessarily that this is in increasing order, so we cannot assume that. So when we look at the values that we have, and we think we can determine it, so we're going to eliminate option E because we know by definition we can do some determining of this. We could actually look at entering each one of these values for x and calculating the standard deviation and do that. Or in general, what we could say is the one value of these 4 that produces most of a difference that's not like the other values that we are given is 2. Answer choice A is going to be the one out of these 4 that will give us the biggest increase, the most increase in the standard deviation. So that's answer choice A, 2.